Hello everyone, welcome to Reflections with V, where we dive deep into the truths of life and uncover the wisdom we often overlook. You've probably come across the saying, "School is a waste of time," a phrase many of us use when we're unhappy with the education system. As a matter of fact, some argue that traditional education stifles creativity and doesn't prepare us for the real world. While there is some truth to this, I kind of feel that the reality is much more nuanced. I believe that education, when approached with the right mindset, can still be a game changer. So today, I want to share my story and offer a fresh perspective on why education or formal education alone isn't enough, and why adaptability and flexibility are the true keys to success. I grew up in a middle-class West African family during a time when education systems were undergoing major shifts. Before the 90s, public education in my country had a decent reputation. Schools were run by the government as well as missionaries, and many respected older citizens thrived in these systems. But at some point, things suddenly changed. The government began to take over many missionary schools, and as they did, the public school system began to decline. But after a while, private schools stepped in and started to fill the gaps left by the declining public school system. Over time, the difference between public and private schools became stark. For instance, in public schools, education felt like a mechanical chore. Teachers skipped classes. Students copied textbooks without understanding, and hands-on science practicals were a luxury reserved for the brightest few. As if that wasn't enough, the bullying and relentless seniority system in public boarding schools left many students with more trauma than intellectual curiosity. As a result, education in these types of schools was rarely exciting or fulfilling. Private schools, on the other hand, became a beacon of hope for quality education. On the average, they instilled confidence and competence that prepared students for the real world. So when you consider this disparity, it's easy to see whose education is likely to feel more rewarding. However, the true issue here goes beyond the quality of schooling. It's about how we apply the education we receive. In my situation, the turning point came after graduating from the public school system. I knew I needed to compensate for the gaps in my education. Therefore, university became my turning point. I worked hard to achieve good results. But even then, I realized that formal education alone wouldn't be enough to secure my future. When school was over, the job market was saturated with graduates just like me. What used to work for our parents, like earning a degree and walking into a government job, no longer applied to my generation. For our parents, education was a ticket to civil service or a stable employment. But as economies shifted and job markets became more competitive, the rules changed. Graduates with no additional skills found themselves stuck. On the other hand, Those who learned trades like sewing, carpentry, plumbing, farming, or welding often fared better when combining practical skills with their education. Now looking back, I see that education wasn't the problem. The issue was a lack of adaptability. Those who succeeded didn't reject formal education. Rather, they used it as a foundation to pivot, innovate, and evolve. The graduates who embraced their parents' trade rebranded these local skills into thriving businesses. They didn't just inherit a trade, they transformed it, leveraging their education to reach wider audiences or customers and create new opportunities. As for me, I didn't have a trade to fall back on. Instead, I leaned into creativity and adaptability. I stopped focusing solely on the traditional career path and began exploring ways to create opportunities for myself beyond what I studied in school. I must say that my education wasn't wasted. It just needed to be reimagined to fit my present-day circumstances. And this brings me to 3 key lessons. 1. Education needs flexibility. Fact is, traditional education hasn't evolved much over the decades. So it's not enough to follow a rigid curriculum. We must learn to think critically and innovate beyond the classroom. 2. Success is about adaptability. That is because the world is changing rapidly. A degree alone won't set you apart. Instead, it's your ability to adapt, learn new skills, and think outside the box that will do. 3. Combine education with skills. While formal education opens doors, unique skills and lifelong learning keep those doors open. Therefore, you have to be willing to explore and grow beyond what is written on your resume. In a nutshell, I would say that there is no one-size-fits-all formula for success. What worked for previous generations won't always work for ours, even if we go to the best private schools in town. Success comes from staying self-aware, embracing change, and rebranding ourselves as the world evolves. It's not about choosing between education and skills. It's about blending the two to create your own unique path. So don't get stuck thinking there is only one way to succeed. Stay flexible, stay curious, and keep learning. Your potential is limitless when you embrace growth. Whether you are unlearning old habits or mastering new skills, remember, the most successful people are those who dare to adapt and reinvent themselves. Keep pushing forward and never stop evolving. If this resonated with you, I would love to hear your thoughts. How are you adapting to the changes around you? Share your story in the comments, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and share for more reflections on life's timeless lessons. Until next time, take care and keep reflecting.